Okay, I think we're actually live. If I was sitting there staring at y'all for a couple seconds, my apologies. It's it's the game every week for me in terms of are we gonna go live? Is this gonna work? But I think we are live. Let me yep, okay, I can see myself in the group. Got a great conversation one we have every year about our courses are dead. I feel like I've started so many live streams the past, I don't know, year or two this way, but it just feels really important for me to also presence that I think this is for most of us, or if you're in this group, I think if you're attracted to my work, probably feeling like a very, very heavy week. And so I just want to name that. If things are feeling harder for you, that's probably because you're a human who's responding appropriately. Fuck ice. But also, I think just wanting to name for those of you who feel a little bit like, why are people just waking up now, or who are maybe mad that people are paying attention now because there's white people in the news. I just want to name and see you in that as well. I think all of that is true. I think it's a lot. I'm glad people are opening their eyes. I think there's hopefully more people have their eyes opened, and that's just also I think that's just also really real. So just wanted to see everybody in that, and just to name it. I don't have anything really profound to say, but it is heavy. It is hard. It is shitty. Fuck ice. And I shared on my on my Instagram feed. It's probably not the most updated, but I've been trying to post some resources just in terms of the numbers you can call if you want to call your reps, or places you can donate if you want to use your dollars, just ways you can take action that take 3 to 5 minutes. One of the things I keep coming back to with all of this is, gosh, I wish this were enough, that things were just, I wish I believed that we were just going to change things this week. I promise we're going to get into our live stream topic in a moment, but it just feels important. I really think this is such a marathon, not a sprint. I think we are seeing more people be awake to this and take action. And I think we have to keep taking action. It's probably going to take more than, sadly, more than just this week alone. So I linked to some really easy ways, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed. Obviously, this is one of the things I said on Instagram as well. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself. Lean into your support. If we lose ourselves in this, we can't fight fascism, right? If we lose ourselves in this, we can't fight any of this. So it's so important to lean into your support, lean to your coaches, lean to your therapists, lean into your communities. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Please do not lose yourself in this. It is a marathon and not a sprint. And I think there's something all of us can be doing that can only it only needs to take 3 to 5 minutes a day. I called my two senators yesterday. It took me, I timed it. It takes about 90 seconds per call. It was less than 5 minutes between client calls that I was able to do that. So I shared a couple of things on Instagram. I think there are some people who are far more just informed with things that can give you some great scripts if you do want to be calling your reps, especially since everything is in one package right now. We don't. If we have a shutdown, and we could be losing, a lot of money towards the things people actually need. So I think just knowing what to speak to and what to ask for could be very helpful. All right, we're just gonna have like a huge segue here, but that just felt important to name, to speak to. And if you want to DM me or message me, if you want to notice who I'm learning from or who I'm getting resources from, I'm very happy to share that. I feel like I'm happy to use my platform to share those links, but I feel like pointing you to people who can just more who can just give you better information is the best thing I can possibly do. So happy if you want to DM me, message me for that. But do also want to make sure that I'm encouraging everybody to take care of themselves, but also to take those small actions. Truly, this is the same in business. It is amazing how just taking small, simple, boring actions every day really do stack and compound. Well, now let's do a hard pivot. Let's talk about our course is dead, the business models that are selling and scaling best in 2026. So I do a live stream like this. I think I have for the last couple of years, because I think when it comes to scaling business models and the right way to scale, it gets really confusing really quickly. I know it's something that I've talked about this a lot, but it screwed me up a lot at the start of my business, because I didn't see anybody else scaling one-on-one, and I thought I just had to do the traditional Ascension model. For those of you who don't know, I have an all one-on-one coaching practice that I have scaled to multi-six figures. We added on an additional 100K to my multi-six figures last year. I make between 30 to 50K, mostly 30 to 40K months, but we did have a 52K cash month last month in my business. And then my clients who are all one-on-one, they all scale in very, very different ways. So I do not think one-on-one is necessarily the best way to scale your business or the right way for most people. I have clients who are scaling with courses, with group programs, with masterminds, with memberships, with all sorts of offers. So I think it's just helpful for us to see what those opportunities are. I think there's also just because it's very easy to think this is just the one way to do things. I know for me, until I saw somebody else scaling one-on-one, it was hard for me to even see that that was an option. On the podcast this week, I talked about the revenue sharing model that I use and who it might be right for, who it might not be right for, pros, cons around that. If you're interested in that and how I scale my one-on-one, that's on the podcast. I won't reiterate that here today because that's already on the podcast and that was quite an in-depth episode. I also just think it's very specific and not relevant for everyone. Today, I also just know there's so much noise right now in terms of like, courses are dead, especially with Amy Porterfield shutting down her big program. Jenna Kutcher, I think she's in a new program, but I know she stopped her podcast. I think there's just a lot of fear mongering, but also like just literally just noise in terms of like, this isn't working anymore, this model doesn't work. And so I am not the arbiter of like what is all true, but I do have pretty intimate knowledge. I work with 23, what do I have, 23, 24 clients right now. I have a roster of one-on-one clients, and most of them I've worked with for years and years. So I see intimately into their businesses. They're all at different stages from startup to multi 6 to 7 figures. I also have quite a few peers who are multi 6 and 7 figure business owners. So I'm seeing a small sliver of the online space, but I am seeing a small sliver of the part of the online space that is getting results, and I'm seeing what's really contributing to those results from behind the scenes very intimately. In real results and across different niches, offers, models. So again, I don't have like, take this and anything you're hearing from anyone else with like a grain of salt. Like I definitely don't have a crystal ball. I can't say what's right for you, especially if I'm not coaching you. At the end of the day, your business will tell you the answers that are right for you. But just so you can know where this is coming from, I thought it would be helpful, because I update this every year because some things have changed, is to do a bit of an overview in terms of how I think about scalable offers and how to choose those, really to go through the different offers and what I'm seeing sell and scale the best in 2026 right now, and just kind of those pros cons so that you can make those decisions for yourself. I think I had one other thing I wanted to share with you. Share one other thing? Did I check on my own notes? No, maybe as we're talking, I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to share with you, but I'm sure when we get into it, I'll share that. If you have questions, I like, please, because I know I value you being here. I value watching on the replay. I want these to be valuable for you. That's why I do these. So if you have questions, if you have things you're seeing from your side that maybe I'm not chatting about that you want to share with the group, please put that in the comments. But if you have questions or anything, like, please use this like a free group coaching container where like allow me to support you. That's again what the whole intention of this is. I don't want to just talk at you. So I so welcome questions, reflections, your input. Like, please, let's use this to, what is it, a rising tide lifts all ships? It sounds so fucking cheesy, but it's just so true. So please use this group in that way. What was I going to say? Oh, I know what I was going to say. Before I dive in, with this all in mind, I've got my signature masterclass, a free masterclass coming in February, the Simplified Scaling Blueprint. This is a masterclass I run every year. I am updating it. The core teachings will be the same if you've come before, but I am updating it with what I'm just seeing to be a little bit more true right now in terms of what the components are you need to scale, and particularly what I really saw looking at my own business since we did add an additional 100K in revenue last year, just really looking at what those components are. So I will be breaking that down for you. It's completely free. If you sign up and you join live, you will also get a bonus playbook where you can audit your business and apply this to your business so you can spot the biggest opportunities and levers to press to scale your business. And then you'll also get entered to win a VIP strategic scaling session with me. So I will drop the link for that after that. This is completely free. It will not be in the Facebook group, so you do need to sign up for it. I know this masterclass in particular, again, I'm updating it a little bit, but I've had people message me that they have just taken pages of notes and that this class alone has helped them to have ahas, insights, breakthroughs, and get results. So I would highly encourage you, if you're in a place where you're thinking about scaling your business and ready to scale your business, I would highly encourage you to come. This is literally what I focus on, the components I focus on myself and with my clients, and that has allowed us to scale, and to scale in a way that's very sustainable. I've been making multi-six figures and scaling my revenue now for 6-7 years. This is not the first year I've added 100K in additional revenue, for example. So, I mean, this has been working across, the pandemic and the world being on fire and different changes in the industry. So these are proven, tried and true components for scaling. Okay, which is also why I wanted to bring this conversation, because I think having conversations around models to scale is a big part that we probably won't get into in the masterclass all too much. So let's go back now to offers to scale. So I'm going to talk about business models overall. So if you're not in a place where you're ready to scale your business and you're more building your business and growing, this is still relevant. I think it's still really helpful to think about what offer you would choose. That is the nucleus of our business, right? So it is still very important. And I'm also going to be sharing this through the lens of scalability. So you can kind of take from this what you need. I think what's helpful first and foremost to think about is just thinking about how do we even go about choosing the right model for us. And then I'll break down what those different models and some of the most common options are and how I'm seeing them working, not working. The reason this is so important is I look back on my years in business and I can see, while I'm so grateful to myself for I'm someone who really needs to try and test things. So I'm so grateful to Past Kim for being willing to try and test things, because I need to learn through experience. And I have tested pretty much every business model that makes sense as a coach in my business over the years. But I can see how being in models that weren't aligned, that weren't right for me, that are technically really scalable and really great models and models that other people are scaling with, how much that really affected me and the way I thought about my business, the way I showed up, and even the revenue I was making. And so even when I tested the most scalable models, if they weren't aligned to me, I could actually see my revenue freeze or not grow. And I think we forget how much it matters that we pick something we actually want to show up for, and so much of a part of a sustainable business. And obviously, I'm going to go through the other components in the masterclass, but I think we forget, like, at the core of that, it's really tough to sustain a business and to sustain results and to keep scaling and to sustain those results year after year. I've been in business 10 years in March, right? It would be really hard for me to keep showing up for 10 years, loving what I'm doing and scaling my revenue, if I fundamentally didn't like the model, and if the model was misaligned. And so it sounds, I think, almost like so basic and so cheesy, but I do think that's so important. Sometimes we do have to test things, right? I don't think I could have known without testing certain things, but I think we need to be testing from a place of not just what sells, but also what lights me up. What do I want to show up for? What could I be really excited about getting behind the message of for the next couple of years, and getting behind serving, delivering for the next couple of years, because that's really also what's required for any offer to really be able to work and scale. When I look at some of my clients who are blowing up right now, their launches, part of that's because we've been iterating and working their strategy for at least a year. Right? And that's just really hard to do if you fundamentally don't like what you're selling. So I think that's just the first piece we want to think about with any offer, with any model. What I'm looking at, so two kind of like branches from that, and then we'll go into the specifics on the models. What I overall am thinking about when I'm supporting a client to get clear on a model and offer that's right for them and what we might even test is I'm wanting to look at an intersection of a couple of things. One, what's the thing you love the most when you could be the best at in the world, right? Not what are you the best at in the world, but comes from, I think it's Jim Collins from Good to Great. So he's not necessarily talking about offers, but I like the way he frames this in terms of like, what could you be the best at in the world? And I think that is really helpful for us to think about, both with the model we choose and the offer itself. And then what is it that your people have a migraine level problem around, or a migraine level need solution around? And what I mean by this is credit to, I think her name is Tara Ziegler, who runs the Successful Ads Club. She talks so much about how we need to speak to migraines, not headaches. And so we want to know, what could we be the best in the world at? What's the problem or the solution people have that is a need to have problem? We need to have a solution that is enough of a migraine problem that someone would pay to solve it, right? Not a headache where they're like, I'll just deal with this, or I'll just take some aspirin, but it's a migraine, right? They want to deal with it. Or similarly, it's a big enough want, desire that someone would pay for that. That people already have awareness around. So that's more like your offer and your messaging, right? This is what you could be the best in the world at. We're having like concentric circles here. And then also, what is the way you best like to show up to deliver, right? So this is more a model. Do you like to deliver on a call one-on-one? Do you like to teach? Do you like long form, short form? Do you like to write, right? Do you like more to be behind the scenes and implementing? What's the way you most like to deliver? And then going back to the client side, what is it that your clients are most craving to solve that problem or to get that result, right? What is, are they craving someone to implement for them? Are they craving for someone to get on a one-on-one call with them? Are they craving for someone to teach them? What is the thing they're most craving to solve that problem or to get that solution? So we've got kind of these 4 pieces here. Where that overlaps will usually give you a really good idea of the model and offer that is going to make the most sense for you. Hopefully that makes sense. The reason I share those 4 different pieces is what I find happens so often is we just pick one of those places, or maybe 1 or 2 of those circles and where they overlap, and we miss out some of the others, and that's where we end up choosing the wrong model for us or for our audience, or something that isn't so sustainable, right? I can choose what I think I might be the best in the world at, and the way I most like to deliver, or like the way I most want to deliver that fits with my lifestyle. But if fundamentally my audience wants something very different, right, that isn't going to be super scalable. Similarly, I could just get so fixated on what's the need to have problem for my audience, what's that migraine, what's the way they most want support, but it doesn't intersect at all with the way I like what I could be the best in the world at, my zone of genius, and the way I most like to show up. And so I could be trying to force myself, right, to make this solution for someone, right? I'm sure people would be very thrilled if I made a done for you course, or if I wrote people's copy and landing pages for them, for example. But that is not at all in the way I know I want to show up or serve my clients the most, right? And that might be something that would sell, right? That might solve a need to have problem for my audience, a migraine problem. That might be something my clients really want in terms of deliverability. But if that's fundamentally not a way that is in my zone of genius, or like what I think I could be the best in the world at, or how I most want to show up or best deliver, right? We're missing that part. I could make some sales, but that would be really tough for me to sustain long term. So that's just overall, and then we'll talk through kind of the pros and cons. But I think that's fundamentally so important, because I might tell you something today that maybe isn't selling or scaling as easily in 2026, but none of that really is relevant until we first get clear on what's best for you and your audience, because you might be an outlier. Or let's just say this was a crazy world where one-on-one was the most scalable. I don't know. I think in many ways it is. We'll talk about that. But and that's just fundamentally something you don't want. Like it kind of doesn't matter what everybody is saying is working the best if that doesn't match with your personal Venn diagram there. I wish I had like a whiteboard here so I could have drawn that out for you. So we need to start there. The other piece with that I like to think about, Alex Hormozi talks about this, I think, much more elegantly probably than I have. But he really talks about, I think he frames it as like starting at the top, meaning if you are just getting started in business and you're not ready to scale yet, if you're sort of like, I like all the different ways to deliver, generally speaking, it is going to be easiest to grow your business and get your business to a place so that it can scale, right? We have to go through phases in business. We build, we grow, we scale. We can't scale before we build and we grow. Scaling means it's like a skyscraper, right? We scale the building up after we've dug in the ground, built the foundation, and built the first floor. We can't put the top floor of a skyscraper on without that, right? So we have to be in the place to scale. We have to have something to scale. So if you're in the place of building and growing and even scaling, generally speaking, again, there are always outliers. There are exceptions to every rule. Please be happy to be the exception to the rule. I like to speak to what is like best practices, what works for most people, and then I'm happy for anyone to be a unicorn. Is starting at the top, meaning what is your highest ticket offer, like starting from there and then working down to the lower ticket offers, to the audiences with less resources to invest, versus doing that the other way around. The reason for that is just simple math. It requires you to have fewer people to purchase from you when you start at the top and you're speaking to someone who has more resources to invest. They have a migraine problem and you're selling a higher ticket offer. You need fewer people, you need less demand than when you are moving down to a lower ticket offer, people with fewer resources. People with high resources can also invest in lower ticket, but generally speaking, that is the way I would suggest thinking about if you're going to have an offer suite and thinking about your business models. Let me just see if we have, okay, no questions. I'm just gonna take a quick sip of my crack here. I've got cold brew today. I think we have a Jura coffee maker, which I love, by the way. And somebody, if anybody has one, you'll have to tell me. We've had ours for a while, and something got screwed up with the engine, and we fixed it. But I can't tell if it's because my coach gave me these Cometeer coffees, which are kind of like they're almost like they're freeze dry. They're frozen coffee that you like add to water. So think like Americano, espresso, and then I've been drinking cold brew. So I can't tell if I just got super used to, because I was drinking those for the last month, like that Americano flavored coffee. And so now my coffee maker, I know this is such a tangent, but whatever, we're going with it because I'm a coffee freak. And that's why my coffee tastes now from the Jura, it tastes really weak to me. So I can't tell if it's that or if just maybe this happens if your engine gets a little screwed up and if we need to buy a new one. So if anybody happens to have a Jura and know anything about that, please tell me, because my coffee is very important to me. Okay, let's talk business models. Thanks for indulging my squirrel brain and talking about coffee there. So business models and what I'm seeing sell and scale the most in 2026. So let's start with our course is dead, since that is the question. I think that is like the fear mongering out there. I think everybody has said courses are dead between AI and people not really wanting to invest in information in the same way. Amy Porterfield shutting down her program. I don't know, whatever the inferences are around that. I think the fear is the courses are dead. So I think what I would offer there is, no, I don't think courses are dead. I still see people buying courses. I still have clients who are successfully scaling and getting really great results selling courses. And I would put an asterisk to this. I think a couple of things are dead. I think what is dead is information, like very generic information, how to only courses that is something that people could just find in ChatGPT or in Claude or in AI, or information that is almost really generic and basic that I could just get it anywhere. I think that is gone. I also think that, look, again, there's outliers to everything, but what I'm really seeing and what I've been supporting clients with is I do just think overall we are just we've talked about this, we're in a trust recession. It is a buyer's market. I think there's such a saturation for choice. I think if you sell anything in the business space, a lot has shifted in business and a lot has gotten, I don't want to say it's more challenging, it's just different. And so what we're also seeing is if you have a course that has not been updated, right? And I don't want to comment on the Amy Porterfield stuff. I literally have no idea anything else besides that, except for there's a lot of noise about it that she shut down her program. So I really don't want to have, I also just feel like that's really obnoxious to be like talking about something I know nothing about. But if you have a program that's been around for like 10 years, I think what's nice is you can have the social proof from that. But I do think for anybody who has a program that's been around for a while, if it hasn't been updated with what's relevant now, I do think that is something that people are really thinking about. I know some of the conversations I've been having with clients who have courses, especially in the business space, like in spaces where things have shifted or in spaces where there is an opportunity to speak to AI and how that's impacting whatever it is you're teaching. We are looking at how are we updating this material? How are we speaking to this? How are we modifying this? How are we making sure to include elements that really are relevant to what people need to know today, not what was true 10 years ago, 5 years ago? And so I think that is dead. I think just having the same course that never gets updated, that isn't relevant, I do think that is harder to sell. I think something that is strictly generic information is harder to sell. The courses I'm seeing do the best are much more specific to someone's, yes, it's like tried and true and proven, but like it's either a proven strategy, it is the way they teach it, it is something that is like they're putting their spin on it, their framework on it, they're helping someone to apply something that can't be found somewhere else or that someone would have a hard time understanding somewhere else. And then we're seeing having updates that makes it really relevant for people right now doing well. And then for most of my clients, I'm trying to think if I have anybody who doesn't have this included. I would say it depends on if it's low ticket, high ticket, but for a lot of my clients who have courses that are, I'd say at around $1,000 or more, we're also really just looking at how do we also include some sort of live support or implementation support. I think that's where this is nothing even to do with AI or the trust recession. I just think overall, we've now all been around, most consumers have been around the block long enough to know that even if you buy the best course in the world, a lot of people have a course graveyard where they never made it past the second module, right? The completion rate of courses is pretty low. And so we're really looking at, that is just an objection that is heightened when there's more choice than ever and more places for people to get this information, right? When people just know that you could have the best course and they might just never finish it. So we're looking at how do we overcome in the sales process, but also in real time, the objection that I might not finish this might not work for me. I really want some sort of one-on-one support. I want something that isn't like that I couldn't just get online. And so we're looking at how do we encourage the completion of the program, and then can we offer some sort of one-on-one and one-to-one, meaning it could be a group call, but you're giving a hot seat, or there's access to you is maybe a better way to say that. Personalization is maybe a better way to say that, or some sort of implementation bonus. And so I'm definitely seeing that those still sell, but that's what I'm seeing sell best is finding ways. And look, this is just business, right? Like things change in the online space. It doesn't mean we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is a horrible saying. I think that every time I say that, and yet I still say it. But it doesn't mean we have to throw everything out. But we do have to look at what can we do to modify this so that it really, going back to those concentric circles we were talking about, how do our people right now, what's their biggest problem or biggest desire, and what's, they have awareness around, but what is the way in which they want to consume or get support? How can we make sure, even if that's not the model, like let's just say everybody wants one-on-one support and you don't want to offer one-on-one, fine, but can we maybe be aware of that and see, fine, if you want to have a more passive, in air quotes, program and sell a course, are we either going to make it a slow ticket, or can we have something that makes it easier for them to complete it, or some sort of group call? Like, can we find a way to meet some of what people are wanting to pay for? Otherwise, I do think then it does become harder to sell. I would say the other the other thing I'm just seeing, I kind of alluded to this, but I'm seeing courses where it's more like your method or taking a very proven method, right? I think both here. So either this is how I personally did it, so you can't get this information anywhere else, or I have a client who has a very proven method, so like you could, I guess, get it somewhere else, but she teaches it in a way that makes it very accessible. I think that also works well because, again, we're in such a trust recession. So like there's kind of two pieces there. We either want information we can't get elsewhere, your proven method. What's your approach? What's your framework? What's the way you got this result that you can't just go online and get like the 3 steps for this? Or what's the really proven approach that you're really skilled at and you really know how to teach and make accessible? Because again, if we have trust down and we don't know who to believe, I mean, I think a lot of people also don't trust AI. So if you have something that's proven and tested and like there's research behind that and you know how to make that understandable, accessible, less complicated, right? I think that can do really well also. Let me just take a quick sip. And I would just say, in terms of if you're thinking about, again, scaling with courses, what I would offer just in terms of like pros, cons, and I think this is just something I'm always communicating with clients, with courses in general, it's not a reoccurring revenue model, right? It is a one-time sell. It's not a bad thing, but what that means is you are in the game of marketing. You are in the game of volume, meaning your business is, once you create the course and the deliverability, of course, that's part of it, but the rest of your work is really about traffic, audience growth, marketing, getting people hyped up around this course and selling, constantly selling people in, right? Like, and it's a volume game in that we always need more people coming in through the door unless we have another offer you're going to upsell someone in to extend that lifetime plus customer value, which is what I work on a lot with clients who do have courses as their main offer. Or some kind of reoccurring offer on the back end, again, to increase that lifetime customer value, which just, if this is like maybe like, I don't know if that's like, I don't know, is that business lingo? Basically the amount of value a client or customer has for the life in your business, we want to extend that so that it's not just one purchase, right? It's not, and we can think about that in terms of reoccurring revenue, making money every month, but also just, I mean, it doesn't have to be reoccurring revenue. It could be they buy one course and they buy another program, but then it is easier to keep a happy client than it is to acquire a new client. It also costs your business less time and money to keep a client in your world than to acquire a new client. So thinking about that, I think, is very important, and understanding that about a course model. And so some of my clients do with courses as well. Yes, it is knowing the trade-off of like we are playing the marketing game, and a lot of times it is an ads play or just getting really good at organic. If we're really wanting to boost those course sales, I would say for most of my clients and peers that I know, it is an ads game. I know a few people who are just like crushing organic and have like 100K plus. I have one client who scaled to 1 million without ads using these models. This is a previous client, so it's also a slightly different time online. But I would say she has an audience. We grew her Instagram to 100, 200K, to like not 10,000, like 100,000 plus. So like those numbers are what allowed these types of offers to really bring in enough revenue. I was going to say one other piece here. And so one of the things we are looking at with courses is, is there an opportunity to build something in on the back end, whether that's an upsell or a community to increase that lifetime customer value? Okay, which kind of brings us to memberships. I think that's another one that gets a sort of a hot topic one. And memberships are interesting. I kind of like a love-hate for memberships, like just to be really transparent. I mean, I will support my client in whatever they want to do, obviously. But I will also tell a client very transparently and I have a couple of clients who have very successful memberships. I have a past client who had a membership, it's like a 2 million per year membership. And again, though, I think 600K audience, very large audience. And that was someone who got into business 15 years ago. So like when the landscape was very different. I have a couple of clients now who have memberships and their memberships are selling and working really well for them. And I have a couple of peers similarly who I know do. And I think here's the sort of context around that. Outside of that past client with the $2 million per year membership, and again, that is a all-in volume, and again, an audience. Her audience might be over 1 million at this point. Very large audience and very large ad spend. I'm guessing 20, 30, 40,000 a month. I mean, large ad spend. So most of you in this group, most of us, when we're thinking about scaling, that's not what we're looking at memberships for. So again, there are outliers. You will see that online. It does not mean they are lying. It does not mean that those don't work. But memberships are really tricky, and I'll share how my clients are using them to have them work for them. But in general, if memberships are your core offer, the reason I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them is they're I think just the most challenging offer, to be as transparent as possible. I think they're the most challenging offer to make a profit off of, unless you're doing what some of my clients are doing, which I promise I will come back to. The reason for that is it's sort of like courses in that it is such a volume game, but it is usually at quite a low ticket amount. And so if it's a volume game, especially if you're paying ads for that, and it's a low ticket offer, your ads are cutting in significantly to the profit you will get, and that doesn't account for team support and all the other things required. Memberships usually have quite a few moving pieces, and I think I have a client, we've talked about this before, but she's like, wow, it's just so crazy. Like it takes the same amount of work to have someone sign up for a membership as it does for a high ticket offer. And I think that seems like such a mind F to us because it's a lower ticket offer. We would think it should just be really easy for someone to buy. And I think we forget most people aren't buying because of price point. They are buying because of perceived value. They are buying because, going back to our original concentric circles, I've got a big enough problem that I want to solve. And this is the way I believe that I can solve this problem. I want to have this problem solved that I'm willing to invest in, right? And it matches our offers. And so if I have a migraine, for example, and I see a membership, it's not about $27 or $2,700. Of course, everybody has a different threshold in terms of what they can like technically afford or are willing to invest or stretch for. But I also have, like, there's a whole psychology around lower ticket and what I think that will get me. And then memberships, I think in particular, are a little bit of a mind F because there's such a commitment piece to this, right? Most people, I mean, I don't know about you, but like literally I have Apple Music and I'm like, do I really want to renew this? Because once I'm just going to be on the hook for my $10.99 or whatever it costs forever. Like we feel like we're trapped. Like there's such an interesting commitment piece. And so I think memberships have all of these hurdles on the sales, like the front end side. And it's not always the way, the structure in which people want to learn it, right? Memberships are usually very large communities, very little one-on-one personalization and access, because that's how someone can afford to make it lower ticket, right? It's volume. And what I'm seeing is a lot of people, that's what I'm encouraging my clients of courses to include, a lot of people want more of that access and personalization. And so then if you include that in a membership, that's really only profitable for you if you have a very, very large membership, bringing in enough where you can still scrape off a profit margin, because otherwise you're having to invest in support courses, coaches, and all of these different things to make that profitable. And then I think with memberships, generally speaking, one of the big challenges is not getting people just to enroll, but it's getting people to stay. And there could be a very high attrition rate. And so, with courses, it's sort of like we're always getting more traffic. And like that's kind of like get more people through the funnel, get more traffic. That's how we get that working. For memberships, it's like get more people through the funnel, but also how do we keep more people in this program? And so I think just for that reason, it can be a great model, but I think a lot of people choose memberships because they think this is the easiest. Someone told me this is the way they made $1 gazillion, without realizing they probably started that membership a long time ago, or have a very large audience, or their membership is a funnel into a higher ticket offer. And so I do have a couple of clients who are successfully running memberships, and they work for them. But if we look, and I have a couple of peers I can think of too, but if we look at their monthly or yearly revenue split, their membership revenue is just a small part of their overall revenue. And so they're not relying on this to be the main way they scale their business or the main way they make revenue. It's a small part of that. And the reason we keep it is it works really well as a funnel into other offers that they have. Right? It funnels into a higher ticket offer. It funnels into another program. It funnels people into their world. Like basically they're paying to nurture leads. And so I do think memberships can work well in that way. Again, memberships can also work. Again, there are still people who are running great memberships. I do think though, if we go back to Alex Hormozi's kind of like start at the top in terms of audiences who have the most to invest, but also the biggest need problem and those higher ticket offers, memberships are generally kind of like down on the bottom. I think, again, this is like my new, I was listening to my last podcast. I say generally speaking so much, y'all. I feel like this is my like way to give nuance, where like I can't give one size fits all information. There are unicorns and outliers for everything, but I do think for most people, starting with a membership or making this the first offer they sell can be a little bit more challenging. Or you just want to be aware of those trade-offs, and that's okay too. I think, I was told, and it is true, that one-on-one is not the easiest model to scale, and it will probably be the slowest path, and using revenue share, right, is going to take you a long time, right? That is all true, and I still chose that. So because that's the model I wanted, and that's the thing, like when I look at those 4 concentric circles where everything overlaps. So I'm just sort of stating the facts here and the things to consider. And if that still gets you excited, just like one-on-one still gets me excited, even though I know I could be making triple the revenue if I chose a different model and like really leaned into that, like that's okay. I think it's just going in knowing that versus going in thinking memberships are going to be like the ticket to making a lot of money overnight. Okay. Let's just see if there are any questions. If you have questions, reflections, thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go to the next one. I hope this is also helpful. I know we've done this because I've had this conversation before. I really don't like to repeat topics too much, but I do think there's just nuance in terms of, I think the last one we did was maybe summer last year, and I think things have like shifted even since then, just because I think more because of the Amy Porterfield noise. I think that just kind of kicked up some extra concern around this. Okay, so let's just talk. There's 2 more models. I think we have time, and I'll make sure we don't go over an hour here. High ticket meaning and offers that have some sort of one-on-one access. So one-on-one, traditional one-on-one, like what I offer, I think that could be considered a group program. I think that could be considered a mastermind. Anything where someone is getting consulting. I think this is also, we could consider implementation. Like, so if you're an OBM, someone who's like a copywriter, I'm going to put all of these offers into high ticket with some sort of either personalization or implementation. Generally speaking, I'm seeing these sell the best. And I think what's interesting is I'm also seeing these scale the best. I think the asterisk here is like, are these the most traditionally scalable offers? I guess not. No. I mean, if we're just looking at like what is, could you just pump thousands and thousands and thousands of people through these and like scale to exponential amounts unless you're using something like revenue share? No. I mean, could you keep raising your rates with these and like scaling that way? Sure. So I mean, I guess we could say there's a cap, but I think most people are so far away from the ceiling in terms of their capacity and like their ability to raise rates with some sort of one-on-one or implementation offer, that they're so far away from even maxing out the scalability within those offers that that's sort of an irrelevant conversation. Yes, there are people who are already making 7 or 8 figures who are already at a certain place where they don't have any more time available, or what they would have to charge to make their time make sense for them to do one-on-one, or a group or something doesn't make sense. Fine. But for the sake of this conversation, I think most people are looking at how can I add 1 to 500K of revenue? I mean, or how can you, I've had clients who have scaled from 6 figures to $1 million in a year. Like if we're looking in that range, most of us still have lots of capacity to scale with offers like this, especially when we're looking at offers like masterminds or group programs. I've had clients, and I have plenty of peers I can think of as well, who have scaled to $1 million, these are still one-on-one trading time for money offers, simply just through masterminds groups. And so is that unlimited scalability? No. Can you scale to $1 million or a 2 million with that? Yes. Is for most of us like that a really great place to start, and then to revisit like going top down in terms of like then going to other offers? Probably. So I think just in terms of the scalability there, just speaking to that, because I think that's, people always get sort of like, oh, but I'm trading time for money. And I would just offer your trading time for money with all of these offers. It just depends where you're trading your time for money. Are you trading your time for money to get on a group call with 10 people or 20 people or 100 people? Or are you trading your time for money to like really master ads and to like market your face off because you need, so many more people to go through your funnel? You're going to trade time for money either way. And I think outside of one-on-one, and that's a different conversation, I think groups, masterminds, I think these are also really great ways to leverage your time, because it is still you serving one-to-many people. But I think most people are craving, like when we go back to those 4 concentric circles, what's the thing that people want to pay for? What's the model and the way they want to consume this information, solve this problem, get this result, learn this skill set? I think most people do want some sort of one-on-one access. It's why we're adding that to a lot of the courses that my clients are offering, and we're thinking about how to make sure that we're really speaking to that. I think most people want this. I think for various reasons, we could almost have a whole conversation around that, but I think between people being burned in the online space, I think between people having a course graveyard where they realize they never made it through module 2, unless you're a fucking nerd like me who like buys something, consumes it all, takes notes, has like semi-photographic memory, is like nerding out on it. Most people are not like that, and don't consume courses, right? Most people, and I think a lot of us too, even if we really want some sort of one-on-one container because we want to be in community, if it's a group, and I think one-on-one, y'all know, I'm one-on-one, only one-on-one, so I'm very biased. So take this with my very biased perspective here, but I think it doesn't matter how much information I give anyone. There's such a difference between receiving information and having that personalized support to be able to apply it to you, your business, your relationship, your fitness, your health. I think about this at the gym all the time. I could just watch a video on how to do some of the lifts, or I can go and I can have a coach who comes over, can just literally look at me and like, oh, my form's off. Or can say, hey, you're going to hurt yourself if you don't do X, Y, and Z. Or hey, you actually need to move your feet a foot to inch to the left. You need to put your shoulders this way, right? Like all of these small adjustments. I can consume all the information in the world, but without that personalized support, that feedback, that mirror, I can't see those things. I don't know those things. I don't have that experience. It's really hard. So it's not even that I need the accountability or someone to push me harder. Literally that feedback makes such a big difference. And I think people know that. So I think this is just the place where most, we're just seeing, it's sort of like it's having a resurgence, but I think for various reasons there. So I do think in terms of what I think is selling the best, don't choose this just for that reason. Go back to those concentric circles. If you're like, I don't want to get on calls with people, I don't want to have a group I know a mastermind would be a great way for me to scale my business. For example, I tested a mastermind, I loved it, and I loved my people in it. And I also know for a fact that's not how I want to scale my business. And one-on-one is where I'm at. I have a very hard time not diving in deeply with people, which is tough when I'm on a group call because I just want to turn it into a 4-hour group call. But I also find it, my hypervigilance finds it very tough for me not to notice people getting triggered by one another. And I could work through that, but I frankly just don't have a desire to, because I could just work with people one-on-one. So the reason I'm sharing that is I can know that that might be the most scalable and that could sell very well, but we need to come back to those 4 concentric circles. It still needs to be the way that I want to most show up, or that I feel like I could be the best in the world at, and like the way that I most want to support people, as well as how they want to be supported. But I do think, just in terms of what do I see working really well, and I think for many of you in this group, that's probably a relief to hear. High ticket, I think, is going back to Alex Hormozi's like start at the top. I think is the most profitable. I think it is the easiest to sell. Believe it or not, I find selling a high ticket offer easier than selling a $99 course. We don't have to get into all the reasons why, but I think it is way more profitable, easier to sell. I think your clients can also get such deeper support, a better experience, and better results, which makes for a better client experience, a better lifetime client value, right? If clients are experiencing that, they want to stick around, right? So there's more retention, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of that lifetime client value. But that also means happy clients want to go, like, it's great for marketing. They want to go sing your praises, right? That's where referrals and things come like. So I think this is one of those types of offers that it just checks so many boxes for people, which is why I think it does sell and scale, even if you are trading time for money, even if it's not traditionally the most scalable. Though, again, I do think if you're doing masterminds and groups, those can be pretty darn scalable in terms of one-to-many support. I would say just the trade-off there is, I mean, I do think it's a lower lift marketing. That being said, I do think the higher ticket or offer, the more time in general people need to spend with us in our world to build that trust. I talked about that in social currency. So, I do think there can be that trade-off, and that you might have a longer customer journey, or you might need to do more to build that trust, whether that is getting on the call with people, sharing more value-based content. I do think that is a trade-off. I think in some ways that's true for all offers. I just think at a higher level, people do need to have more time getting to know, like, and trust you, as people say, but just knowing that this is the right solution and container for them. I think the other, trade-off is, and you are trading time for money. And for some people, I think what's also challenging is you are holding people in their stuff, or you're having to deal more directly with people. I have a couple of clients who do implementation for businesses, or who are lawyers or OBMs or copywriters. And for them, I mean, it's great and it sells very well. But the trade-off is, like, again, you're trading time for money, and you are, you have to deal with other humans in a way that you don't have to when you're a little bit more removed from an offer. And so I think those are just things to consider. Okay, we got a couple minutes. I'm just gonna see if there's a question. And I had one last one that I know comes up for people quite a bit that I'm seeing sell well. And I don't know that I would have talked about this in the past, but I think there's also just some confusion around it. So I wanted to end with this one. Drop any questions though if you have them. Last one is low ticket offers overall. I think a lot of people are like, I scaled to $8 million with a $27 offer. And what I'm seeing to be true is, I think, again, there are people who are making a lot of money from low ticket offers. I think, we go back and forth, like high ticket, low ticket. I, in general, think high ticket is very much having a resurgence right now. I would not choose something because it's trendy, though. High ticket will always sell, low ticket will always sell, right? And then it'll just be like, I would not try to chase the trends. That'll make you crazy in business. I would look at those 4 concentric circles and pick a model based on that, and knowing the trade-offs of each. But I think low ticket is definitely also having its place for, all of the reasons that make sense. I think it's, a quick win for people. I think there's lots of reasons low ticket can do well. In terms of low ticket making you millions of dollars, that is definitely possible. However, asterisk, 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 for low ticket offers, a standalone low ticket $27 offer to make you millions, you have to do the math on that, on how many people you need to buy that $27 offer, right? That's a lot of people. I can't even do the math right now. Somebody else can get a calculator and do that and leave it in the comments. Which means you have to have a very, very large, if we know 1% to 3% are likely to buy from your audience, right? We need to have a very, very large audience to be made, if you have one $27 offer and you're expecting to make millions off of it, or you're spending a lot on ads, which is challenging for people if you're running ads, because generally speaking, the reason courses are priced the way they are is in part because ads and expenses need to be accounted in the cost of making a profit on that course, which is very hard to do at $27. Because even if you have a stupid low cost per lead, right, you need so many leads to come through the door to have a percentage by that program. So hopefully that tracks there. So yes, you could just have one or two low ticket offers and make a ton of money. What is true though is there are lots of people who are using low ticket offers to have a cash injection. Yes. Or what I see work really well is building funnels out that start with a low ticket offer. And this can be done in a couple of different ways. There's a great ad strategy that a lot of people teach. This is not the only way. I am selling high ticket one-on-one off of a freebie guide, right? Like I think people are like, freebies don't work, webinars don't work, I don't know, all the things don't work, everything works. You have to figure out what works for you. And one of the strategies that does work well is having a low ticket offer that you run ads to or that you send organic traffic to that is the start of a funnel with a series of upsells into other offers, ending generally either in a series of smaller ticket, low ticket offers, right? That when people buy all of them, accumulate, like it makes it a larger ticket offer, or that funnels people into a higher ticket offer, or that warms people up, right? You could have a $27 mini course, or you could have a $99 call. Something that is a lower ticket offer that then allows people to get to know you, have a taste of your work that you then can upsell them into the higher ticket offer. And so that's generally speaking, when you hear people saying they're crushing it with $27 offers, there are people who have a huge audience. And again, I could do, I don't know, I don't think I'll do this, but like we could decide to do next month a webinar that I charge $49 for, $27 for, and it's like more an in-depth workshop. And I could probably, based on my audience size, have a decent cash injection from that, right? Like, but then that's more a cash injection. That's not where the majority of my revenue is coming from. And unless I just wanted to always be on that hamster wheel of having to create something new, which I do not want to be on that hamster wheel, that is not sustainable, of like always cranking out new shit, where that would strategically make sense is for me to see, oh, I can use this to see who my warm people in my audience are, and this will also warm up some of my audience in a way where they have some skin in the game and they're getting a different taste of my work that then makes sense for me to like offer them something that is higher ticket, right? Like it can be a really great funnel. Similarly, if I had a $27 mini training that people bought, I could run ads to it that can offset the ads cost for me. It will be a higher cost per lead. This is probably like way too getting the weeds for y'all, but just so like you can hear all the things, because I think otherwise we just hear things online, it makes our brain crazy. You'll have a higher cost per lead, but that can offset your ads traffic. And the way ads work is that we'll send it to someone who has a higher intent to invest. And so then it is more likely they will invest in some higher ticket offers on the back end. But generally speaking, again, when people are doing that, they're either doing that to offset their ads cost, to negate that, so they're basically getting free leads, or because they're selling into a funnel for something else. Or they just have a very huge audience and large volume, and then the math has to math there. Because otherwise you don't have recurring revenue and you're constantly having to create new offers. And constantly creating $27 offers, they still have to be valuable at $27. You can't put out crap. So I think just knowing then basically you're creating a membership model if you're just wanting to make a lot of money off of a $27 offer. Okay. I'm just seeing Rachel says the scaling masterclass is fire. Oh, thank you. Hey, Rachel. I just saw the comment here. Thank you for saying that. I hope you will come to the updated version that'll be very similar, but thank you for giving a shout out on that, and I appreciate you so much. I think that was everything I wanted to say here. What I was just going to say with the low ticket offer, when you hear that online, what I think about a lot with that is a lot of that is really more a marketing and sales strategy than that is a business model. So people can use that as a business model. There are times where that works. I don't think it's the most sustainable again, but I think, again, part of my intention with sharing this is just so you can also understand some of what's being marketed to you online and kind of put it on the right shelf in your business and your brain to understand what would be right for you, what would not be right for you, using that filter of those 4 concentric circles. And so when you're hearing things like this, I would really think of this as more of like, this is more a marketing and sales strategy than it is a business model. And in that way, I think it can be a very effective marketing strategy for sure. I definitely have clients using this as a marketing strategy to sell into a higher ticket offer, and it's working very well. I think that is everything everything there that I wanted to say. Plus, we're at the hour, and I got to wrap up so I can go to some client calls. Thank you all for being here. I hope this was valuable for you. Again, if you have questions specific to your business, please use me as a resource. That's why I'm here. I carved this time out of my calendar so that I can be with you, so I can support you. I can't coach everyone one-on-one. I have a full roster, so like this is the way I get to engage and support you all. So very welcome for you to share questions, reflections. If you're seeing anything from your side work, or you're like, hey, like I think this is helpful for everyone to know, like I'm really seeing this specific offer, like please share the wisdom. There's more than enough to go around. Again, a rising tide lifts all boats, all ships. And I would love to have you join me for the Simplified Scaling Blueprint that is happening in February. I think I might have said March, but it's happening in February. It's happening next month. I'm going to walk you through the simple components my clients and I focus on to scale sustainably, simply, and profitably. Simple is the key word here. I think so many people overcomplicate business, and that is actually what makes business not so profitable, and that's what makes us burn out. So I want to show you the very simple components, exactly what my clients and I focus on, and this is exactly what I focused on to add 100K of revenue last year to my multi-six-figure revenue, and what I've done that multiple years in business. So I mean, this has continued to work. I'm just saying that because last year I think was a year where a lot of people had challenges online. So just to really give you that evidence that this really does work, and I saw this work for so many of my clients as well. So I hope you will join me. I will drop a link in the comments, and I'll be back next week with another topic for y'all. I think we're talking mindset next week. All right, bye y'all.